So I want to welcome everyone. It's good to see you. So this is 822. So it's a practicum course. You're getting toward the end for a lot of you. So it's great to have you. Hope you've had a chance to look at the course shell. So just in general conversation, before we start the record button, you got to probably hear just a little bit about some of the other students' experiences. And so that's always a good part when we do the Zooms. You get to hear a little bit about other districts, what they're experiencing, and then also always say you don't know what you don't know until you get into class like this and where you start collaborating with a lot of different people and you think, oh my gosh, maybe I didn't have it quite as bad as I thought I did, or you hear a lot of it. So as you well know, there's a big shortage out there. And so everyone's feeling that, whether you're in Kansas, I'm in Oklahoma, we're feeling it really bad. So just to give you an idea here, kind of how desperate we are, about a year ago, they went in and now they're allowing us to hire adjuncts for the school setting. And we can even adjunct people that don't have a degree now. I mean, that's how desperate. So last school year, we set a record here. We had over 4,000 emergency certificates that were issued last year. So it just kind of gives you an idea of how we're feeling it here. And I'm sure it's like that in Kansas as well. So all schools are getting creative here, trying to do grow your own within. If you have parents that are working with you, some of the regional universities are doing some programs with them to try to prep them and get them into the classroom while they are serving as a parent and taking online classes and then doing boot camps with them. So I'm sure we're all in the same predicament all over. So we're finding here longevity wise, we're seeing about 5 years max for special ed teachers. It's kind of what we're averaging here in the state now. So it's kind of give you an idea. You guys mentioned, and you're seeing it as well. I'm just kind of giving you an overview here of some things. Coming off COVID, especially, we're seeing more and more severe behaviors upon students entering the public school setting and our younger students, especially. If you've been in this for a while, you kind of know how it was before COVID even came into existence, and then what it was like through COVID, and looking at it now, what it's like after COVID. So big differences in short amount of time. So anyway, a little bit about me, Dr. Matt Posey. Been with Fort Hays now 6 going on 7 years. Also serve as academic advisor for if your name falls in the alphabet, a lot of times M through Z. That's going to change after today. We're going to broaden that out because of the loads that different ones have. We're going to spread it out. So I will actually pick up the letter D all the way through Z. So anyway, a little bit about me. This is starting 31 years in public education. So kind of going back to that comment, being in it for a long time, way before COVID, during, after, big change during that time from year one. So a little bit about my background. I started off originally as elementary head major. So I've been classroom teacher, got into administration, been a building principal just about in every level. Then this is my 21st year as a superintendent out of 31 total. So starting year 21. My background was special education, sit in hundreds, if not thousands, of IEP meetings as a building administrator. But where really my background comes in is the psychometry, school psychologist side, doing testing. I got into doing that, still do to this day. I contract out for other districts, do it on the side. We have a big shortage in that area here in Oklahoma as well. So not very many of us across the state certified to do it. So a lot of times we get asked to contract with surrounding districts to help them out. So that's really where my knowledge and background with special services comes in. So anyway, enough of that. We'll talk a little bit about the course. I was telling um, Tom on there earlier that I'll try to get you off here within about 3 hours. We'll try to get through this as quick as we can. Not really, I'm just teasing. So tonight will be pretty brief. I'm just going to kind of go over an overview of the course, point out some things in the syllabus and in the course shell. And then I'm gonna cut you guys loose, because a lot of this, if you noticed in the syllabus, and on the course y'all pointed out, we won't meet weekly. We have like 5 meetings, through this 16 weeks. And so, we will touch base if I need to. I see the group is having a lot of questions or struggling. I'll make myself available. It won't be a mandatory deal or anything like that, but I'll make myself available if I need to do a Q&A or kind of meet with some groups and walk you through some things in between those sessions if we need to do that. So I'm going to do a screen share quickly. I'm going to pull up the course syllabus and kind of go over some of the things on it. I don't know if you've really had a chance to look through syllabus. You should see it now. Everyone see it on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Look it. Scroll up here. Let me just a minute. Okay. Get down where I needed to be. As I mentioned, each week, this first week is pretty laid back, really, as far as what you have to do. The only assignment really for this week is to do the discussion board and introduce yourself. We're going to do a couple of activities tonight. Basically, that's syllabus review. And then in the folder, at the beginning of the course, it has some information on how to avoid plagiarism. And then also there's a folder that talks about mindfulness, or there's some interesting information there. Would encourage you to look over. Then each week you'll see through the syllabus, it has your assigned readings from the text and kind of some of the focuses. You can see in week 2, going to talk about mild intellectual disabilities and get into some emotional behavioral disorders, EBD or ED, say it, and then autism. And then there is some websites to go out and review some information as far as learning, pertaining to learning disabilities, and there's a point on autism. So it's broken down very thoroughly for you. You can see your assignments are listed out here. Just so you know, most of the ones that I mentioned, you've had me in class before, always try to do my assignments where they're due Sunday at midnight. I know you guys are working adults. I get it. You got a lot of stuff going on. Things come up, life happens. I understand that. I get it. So that's why I try to do my assignments always Sunday at midnight. That way, if you have a very busy, hectic week, gives you the weekend to kind of catch up. So here are all your information on what's due. This course, again, is 16 weeks. Most of your other courses you've had, we rolled over to that 8-week format. So with this one, it's kind of a slower pace, so you don't have a lot of things just stacking up on you like you do the 8 weeks. So it's a little bit more relaxed and spread out. There will be some discussion board discussions in there to where you'll be asked to go in and respond to the prompt, and then also respond to a couple colleagues in class. We'll also have some practice quizzes on there for you that will help kind of prepare students for that. There are going to be some teaching reflections. So it's going to ask you to reflect on some things that are occurring, your experiences in the classroom. Then the main thing really that will make up this class is the case study project that we'll do. And that will take pretty much the entirety of the course. It's broken down into 4 sections. And I'm going to scroll down because I highlighted it. I really want to key in on that this evening. Before I get to that point, I did highlight the point breakdown for assignments. So you're going to see the case study student's assignment. I mentioned it's broken down into 4 parts. Those 4 parts combined is equivalent to 495 points. And so you will work on sections, submit them, I'll review them, and then at the end, you'll submit the entirety of the 4 parts. There are some discussions on there that I mentioned, the discussion boards. There are 3 of those, okay? Each one of them is worth 30 points. There are practice quizzes on there. There are 5 that you will do. Okay, you'll go on and it's already in the Blackboard. It's just like you're taking a quiz online. Okay, and then it scores it immediately and gives you some feedback. I will tell you this, if you are stumped on a few of the questions and you think, man, I'm convinced that's right, the way they're worded, you really have to read them carefully. It's all about the wording in that question. If a majority of the class is struggling, let's say on quiz one, and all of you are hung up on maybe question number 3 and number 7, shoot me an email, give me some feedback, and when we meet the next Zoom session, I'll pull those questions up that you've been stumped on and go over those and explain them to you. There will also be some group reflections on here. There are 5, okay, over the course of this class. I'm just asking you to kind of provide some reflection on different things you are experiencing. There'll be a final exam at the end. Some of you may have already taken the praxis. Has anyone taken that already? No? I'm seeing most.
I have.
Okay. So if you passed it, you can email me a copy of that, and it will take the place of the final test.
What
Okay.
if we want to sign up for it for a couple months from now?
You can. If you take it and pass it, get your results back before we get to that final exam at the end, you can provide those results to me. I will record that as a 100 as if you took the final.
Okay.
Okay. So that's how that works. Some of you may have already taken it, which is fine. Send me the results, or you're going to sign up and take it between now and before finals. Okay. You just need to make sure you present the results to me, and I'll log it in as a 100. Okay. There is a code of reflection, or I'm sorry, code of conduct reflection assignment. It's actually, I think, the second week. It's, I think, due September the 1st. It'll show that in the syllabus. Okay, it's a pretty short reflection over some of the code of conduct that's expected amongst special education teachers. Then we have participation points. Okay, so what that is, we have 5 Zooms scheduled. If you attend the Zoom, you automatically get that participation points for the week. You won't have to do anything else to earn it. Okay. If you have something going on, you can't make it, I always record these. Okay. And then you can go back and review the recording, and there will be like 3 questions over content or information that I covered. You'll answer those and submit it. It scores it. You get your points. Okay. Either way, you have the opportunity to do that. The only way you won't get those participation points is, number 1, you refuse to join Zoom. Number 2, you refuse to do the questions. Okay. Pretty easy. One thing I will do toward the end of each Zoom session, I will pop up a chat box, and I'll ask you just to key in your name into the chat box. The recording records it. It'll have it on transcript. After class, I'll go in and I assign the points for that week. That's how I keep up with it. Okay. So I'll do that before we get off here this evening. Okay. Really what I wanted to go over and tonight to kind of understand, because sometimes this gets a little confusing the way it's worded. So I just kind of wanted to go over, explain this case study student assignment. And this is what we will build on. This is going to be where a bulk of the course comes from, is dealing with the case study student assignment. I mentioned there's 4 parts. Okay. We will talk about in between our Zoom sessions. We will focus on each part when we reconvene and meet. We'll focus on, the second part, because the first part is just identifying your case study students that you want to work with and focus on for this class. And the first thing you're going to do is just kind of do some general observation of them, just to kind of see what their behaviors are, maybe some behavior patterns, talk to their teachers that serve them, get some feedback from them, and just do some informal observation, and just provide basically a written summary or overview about what you have learned about that student. That's literally what part 1 is. So you're going to be asked to find 2 students. Okay, we're asking for you to get 2 students that have a high incidence disability. If you noticed in this highlight, it talks about one of the students must be identified as culturally or linguistically diverse. Now, I am extremely flexible with that. I know some of you guys may work in rural school districts where you don't have a lot of diversity. I get it. I understand. If not, don't worry about it. I'm not as concerned about that because I realize some of you guys are some isolated areas. You might not have a lot of diversity, okay? Make sure you have 2 students that have high incidence disability. That's the main thing that I'm worried about, okay? So don't stress on the other one if it's not possible. These students also must be or may be students that you work with. They may also be students whom you are working as a general education teacher. Okay, so you may have them in a gen ed classroom and they're mainstreamed in there. Okay, so it could be either one. If you don't have any of those students right now that you serve, you'll need to just partner up with your school's or district special education teacher to help select your case study students. So you may have to borrow some if you don't have any at this time with your schedule, your current teaching schedule. So it depends on where you're at and what your teaching assignment is. I'm assuming most of you probably do currently have some of those students, so I don't think it should be too much of a challenge for you. Okay,
Is it
so
okay if my students are self-contained? Because we are kind of a special
yeah,
school.
you're in a
Okay.
behavioral school, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it could be self-contained. They could be some that come in and out of your room. So it could be any of those as long as they're high incidence.
Okay. So, I only have one kid right now, but all the schools around me are vying for the other spot. So I don't know who I'm gonna get yet. Is that okay?
That's fine. As soon as you get number 2, just pick that one up and include them on your case study.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I understand some of you may have some unique situations right now. So hopefully, like Sierra, she's going to inherit the second one due to the services they provide. I'm assuming partnering with some other school districts. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're a cooperative. So I
Come on.
serve
Sure.
I have 5 other schools in the county. So
Okay.
we're kind of our own school outside of the school. So we're not even placed inside a regular school.
You're kind of your own then. You don't, belong to a particular LEA that's serving as the LEA then. Okay. All right.
Nope.
That will work. Okay, here are the 4 parts. I just kind of explained one. We're going to do the overview. So basically, you're going to select your 2 students and you're going to kind of spend some time observing them to determine what are their specific needs. Then you're going to kind of select some IEP goals that for each of those 2 that you would like to address later on down when we get into part 3. Okay, so right now we're going to focus on getting your 2, doing some observation and just kind of determining what some of their needs are. Okay. And so once you collect just some information, you're just going to provide just a summary, kind of written in scholarly form, but you want to make it look scholarly, but you're just going to provide that overview. So when you see in the syllabus, the overview paper that's 45 points, that's what that is. Okay. So you're spending some time observing and just going to provide an overview. Then the next thing, part 2, is going to develop what we call a tier 1 lesson plan. There is a lesson plan template that we provide in the course shell. It's one that we like to use for a lot of our classes, especially for our graduate students that have to do the PPAD. It's almost identical to what they expect on that assessment, and it helps them prepare. So you're actually going to receive a lesson plan and it's already in the course shell. And based on the grade level that you serve, some of you guys may be strictly in an elementary setting. Some of you may be in a middle school. Some of you may be in a high school. I may have some of you that serve all 3. Okay, it could be a mixed classroom. So you're going to want to select one of the lesson plans. It's already in the course shell. You'll see for the elementary plan that's in there, it's focused on plant cycle. You will see the middle school is focused on gene mutations, and the high school plan that's already in there focuses on plate tectonics. Okay. So you want to select the one that you feel like is going to be the most appropriate for your two case study students that you have selected. Okay. And we're going to focus on developing a lesson plan or modifying that existing that's in a general education setting. So tier one, you guys familiar with the different tiers of interventions, tier 1, 2, and 3? Tier 1 is that basic in the general setting. It's kind of the overall class. Okay, so you're going to look at this plan that we provided, and basically you're going to go in and make revisions that will include what you feel like are some appropriate accommodations that meet the needs of the two case study students you are going to be working with. So in step one, we've already selected our two students, and we've done just kind of an overview paper. The next thing is we know kind of what their needs are for part two. We know what their needs are. You've selected either the elementary plan, the middle school, or the high school. And based on your knowledge of observing them, you're going to modify, tweak, revise that existing lesson plan to meet the needs of your two case study students. Okay. You will also suggest some tier one evidence-based interventions that can be used for all students as well as your case study, because tier one kind of involves everyone. And then you're going to go ahead and submit those recommendations and explain the changes you're making in that lesson plan. Okay, so that's part two. After you do that, I review it, give you feedback. Then we're going to focus on part three, and that is developing a tier 2 or tier 3 intervention lesson plan. So you will kind of group your two case study students together, and you're going to target similar goals for them. So by this point, done some interventions, tier 1, we've narrowed that focus down, and now we're going to work on a tier 2 or tier 3 intervention plan, which that's more one-on-one or small group, right? Tier 2 and then tier 3 is more at one-on-one. And so we're going to develop that towards more targeted toward those two individuals. And we're going to ask you to develop some interventions for that will also help successfully meet IEP goals that you've selected. And then you're going to design that lesson plan with those goals in mind. And then you will submit that in addition to a scholarly paper describing the interventions and describing those goals that you have developed in that tier 2 and 3 lesson plan. Okay. So 1, select your case study student, do the summary. Step 2, we'll come back together, talk more about your kids. You're going to pick one of those 3 lesson plans to modify, and you'll develop a tier 1. You'll submit it. I'll review it, give you feedback. We'll meet again on Zoom. We'll focus on part 3, really getting more focused and detailed, doing a tier 2, 3 lesson plan. Okay. And after that, then we'll have what we call a PLC section, where you will actually record yourself presenting that lesson that you developed using tier 2, 3 interventions that you developed in that lesson plan. You'll just record yourself presenting that. Now, this is the part that I always find interesting. I always like this, especially when we come back together on a Zoom after you've done it. And because I always like to ask a lot of questions. What are some things that you noticed that you felt like you were doing really good? What are some things you noticed you felt like, I need to change this? Okay. So it's always interesting to do that, and always tell the students when we're doing 822, really, this is nothing new that a lot of educators already do. And I'll tell you a group, a lot of times people go, oh gosh, that group. They do it all the time. Your coaches in your district do this ongoing. They video all their games, right? You see them, they film them, they do that, and then they go after the game, they review game film and they break it down, right? They break it down and think, what did we execute really well? What were we trying to do that was not working that I kept doing over and over and it didn't change anything? You can do this same thing with in this lesson. Okay, so some of the feedback I've gotten when we've done these videos is teachers will say, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea that my classroom was that chaotic until I went and watched the video. No wonder I couldn't get things done." Or I had no idea there was so much outside noise that was drowning me out. I feel like I'm yelling. And so you pick up on little things like that. You pick up on some things that you feel like you're doing really well. And you look at it and you're like, hey, I could have really probably done this a lot better. Okay. So it gives you that opportunity. Like I said, coaches do this all the time. They do it on a weekly basis, whether it's football coaches or basketball coaches. Those are two primary ones that do it. They study game film. If you continually are doing something in a classroom, Amy, and it's not working, why keep doing it? And sometimes you have to see yourself for the light bulb to come in. I watch football coach out here that coaches for us run the same 4 plays and it doesn't work and they do it all night and they're like, what are you doing? It didn't work. And they don't see it during the game because they're so focused on trying to manage everything. They don't realize that it's not working. They just keep doing the same thing. And then they go watch the game film for Friday night and they're like, how in the world could I not see that? So it really is a great tool. Really, I wish more teachers would do it, actually, because it kind of gives you that aha moment. Okay. So that's really what the professional learning community peer coaching will do. You'll record your video, record yourself teaching that lesson plan. And then you will provide a reflection on your own lesson that you prevented. And then Engage will have you upload that where your other peers can see it and provide some feedback. Hey, Amy, I noticed you did this really well. I really liked how you presented this concept, but I did notice that over here and offer some suggestions. Sometimes it's great to hear that because we don't know. It's kind of one of those deals you don't know what you don't know until somebody brings it up. So it's a good way to help um, identify strengths and then also provide suggestions on perhaps you might be teaching the same lesson or the same subject area and give suggestions on things that you've done in your class that went really well that you can provide. So it's that collaboration. That's a great way to learn. So that in a nutshell really is the main project for this course. Okay, so it's divided into 4, and in between those weeks of those 4 main parts, we'll have some discussion boards in there. It'll ask you to read a little article or a little snippet of information, provide feedback, comments, or there may be a discussion board asking you to reflect on a specific happening that's going on, challenge in your classroom. So there will be some of those in between, and or you'll be asked to complete, excuse me, one of the practice quizzes. That's almost a mouthful to say, so get tongue tied. One thing I want to point out to you, and it's a mistake that I did catch in here because we've done away with it, but it's in this. So I need to go after this class, pull it out, repost the syllabus. And I don't know if any of you caught it, but it still talks about, and we used to do this several years ago. We kind of condensed the course a little bit. It talks about recording practicum hours through this semester. It talks about documenting 100 hours for this practicum course. You don't have to do that, okay? Ignore that if you've seen it already, if you caught it in the syllabus. I highlighted it on down here to help remind me to express that to you. You won't need to do it. It's on down in here. It doesn't show on the point value, but there is a a point in the syllabus that it talks about it. Don't worry about it. You don't have to acquire 100 hours, and you don't have to log it in and provide a log. Okay, so just if you see it, ignore it. I'll get that taken out, and then I'll repost the syllabus. Okay. Any questions on that so far? What I've kind of went over.
I was looking at the syllabus and it says we have to have a memorandum agreement. Do you know where that is?
Yes, I'm going to show you. I'm getting ready to switch over to the
Okay.
course shell. Yes, ma'am.
I got a question too, because I've had a chance to look at it a couple months ago. I don't know if it's changed. But the boss that I had at the time, he left and he was fully licensed and everything. And my new boss is in the middle of trying to get her administrator's license. So does that matter?
Go ahead
Okay.
and sign it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're good. I'm going to do a stop screen share on this so I can switch over.
Dr. Posey, I have a quick question real quick about the case study assignment. In section 2 or part 2 of it, it talks about writing in a scholarly paper explaining, how many papers are we writing for the case study?
So on the case study, each one of those parts, you're going to be asked to write a scholar. It says a scholarly paper. Okay. So I'm going to clarify that for you. Don't think it's something that's 4 to 6, 7 pages long. Okay. You can meet the requirements of that assignment in a page and a half. It's just providing an overview and kind of a summary of the information you collected for that particular part of the assignment.
Does it need to have everything APA has with a title page and everything? Okay,
It is
so
not.
just like a paper.
That's correct.
Okay. But not for the part 4.
Part
'Cause
4,
that's-
no. Part 4 is strictly the PLC.
So just 3 times.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I am. Just did a screen share. Can anyone see the course shell on your screen? I want to make sure before I move on. Can you see it on? Okay. I may have to do a stop share and then in quick. It should pop up there in just a second on your end. See it now? Are we good?
Yep, good.
Okay. So just to clarify yourselves, which I just went over, you'll see it right here in this folder. I'm kind of hovering over that with my cursor and my mouse. You'll drop down, you'll see our course Zoom. It says week 1, 6, 9, 11, and 14. Those are the scheduled Zooms. As I mentioned earlier, if between those scheduled Zoom meetings, if I see I'm getting a lot of questions, maybe feel like I need to provide clarification or kind of review something, I'll do a quick Zoom. I'll send out an announcement and it'll be optional for you. It's not a deal that you'll miss points if you don't do it, and I will record it, but I will do that if I see that it's needed. Okay. So again, on those 5, each one's worth 20 participation points. Okay. So just to clarify, you join the Zoom live, you get your points. If you don't join it live, you watch a recording, you answer some follow-up questions. Okay. Down into, I believe, it's asking about some of the documents. Here are, so when you go into assignments, Sarah, can you see I'm hovering over that with my cursor? You'll click on that, then it's going to expand and you will see submit code of conduct reflection paper, the first. Case study students assignment, you'll click on that folder and then it will expand again. Here are all the relevant forms. Here's the MOU form. Okay, you'll find all those right here on these tabs. Case study, student assignment, instruction, and relevant forms. Okay, you'll click on that. Here are all the relevant forms. Your 2-3 lesson plan template, rubrics, the lesson plans that are in, ignore the practicum hours log. You don't need that. Self-reflection forms. All those can be found right here. Okay, is where you'll go. for all your pertinent forms for the case study student assignment. Okay. Everyone follow me there? Everyone good? Okay, I'm gonna exit out of that, go back to the. Okay, it'll show you where to submit that application. You'll upload it. Here's where you'll upload part one, which is the overview. Okay, so part one, remember, you're selecting your two students, Denise. You'll do your observation and pinpoint what you feel like some of their challenges are, things you need to focus on. You'll upload it there. Part two, which is tier one lesson plan. We do the 27th. Tier 2-3 lesson plan, which is part 3 of the case study for peer coaching. Okay. So all that can be located right under that folder. Case study student assignments. Any questions there? Everyone good on where to locate that? Information for your readings and the related videos you see in the assignment. Here's module 1. Okay, which is it's labeled 2.5. 2.5 module behind synopsis and overview. Then here's some different information, some quick readings on the different topics. So you have note about mild intellectual disabilities, which is listed right there in your syllabus, the topics that will be focused on that during those weeks. Your note on emotional and behavioral disorders, which, speaking on that topic, we're seeing more and more of them right now coming off COVID. As I mentioned earlier in the Zoom, you're seeing more and more of those behaviors that are displayed. Here are module 1 readings, and there are some we call website field trips. There's little short videos related to different areas of special education, focusing on maybe learning disabilities and things like that. So, okay, so that is module 1. That is what we'll focus on for these weeks 2 through 5. Okay, we will meet again in Zoom before we can get to module 2. The way this is set up, we'll have Zooms for each module. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to show you module 1 for tonight, and then this will get us all through module 1, kind of showing you the overview in the course shell, what direction we're headed in. And then right before we go into module 2 down here will be our next Zoom meeting, and we'll cover it. Is there any questions over module 1 and kind of the information I covered in the syllabus tonight?
I had a question about something else, like from an email from my advisor talking about taking a comprehensive exam in SPED 822. Do you know what?
Do what now? I'm sorry.
I got an email from my advisor about taking a comprehensive exam to exit to in SPED 822.
Okay. Who's your advisor?
Yang.
Oh, Dr. Yang. Yeah.
Yang, yeah. And
Yeah.
then my coworker Rochelle got one from her advisor too. Did anybody else know what I'm talking about?
I did
My
too.
advisor said that it was embedded in this course and you still have to sign up for it, but you don't actually have to go in and take it.
Yeah. So if that goes back to where I was talking about at the very beginning, right when I started about, hey, in your announcement section, I included the link where you go and actually do the sign up for it
Okay.
on the
But you
4K's
don't have,
website.
but you don't have to take it. Okay. You
Okay.
just have to take the praxis.
That's correct.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
just have to sign up for the
Well, we have the
comprehensive
practice-
exam?
That's why we have the practice exams embedded all the way through this course. I will tell you, based on previous courses, 822s that I've done the last 3 years, I always ask this, especially if someone has signed up to take it like this semester and they've already taken like the first 2 or 3 practice quizzes, I always say, hey, give me some feedback. Based on those questions that we're providing you to give you practice, do you feel like they are directly correlated to what you see? That way, if not, tells me we need to go back and update that. So I've consistently gotten feedback from students that they felt like it was pretty much spot on.
Good.
Okay, so I feel very good about that as far as the test bank or the practice questions that we provide you. And I'll ask you guys, if you sign up and take it, I will ask you the same question. Give me some feedback. Do you still feel like it's consistent with what you saw on the actual test? If not, let me know so we can go in and update that, because everything we do, we want to be relevant to what you're doing. We don't want to just give you something that's not preparing you. So I will tell you this, another thing, students that I've had personally in 822 that took it while we were doing this class, all of them have passed it.
Good.
Okay, they've all passed it.
The praxis.
That's correct.
But the comprehensive exam we signed up for, we don't actually take an exam. It's
It's
just,
the praxis.
okay.
Okay.
I have a question about the praxis real quick, please.
Yeah.
I took it when I was doing my undergrad, so I could get my special ed minor. Right after I took that praxis, they changed the number. Is that still the same praxis that I took?
You much, yeah. Send me a copy of it.
Okay,
Alrighty.
thank you.
Before
And
we,
oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
On the praxis, it's not the one that we took to get our teaching license. It's not the content, that one, is it?
No, it's 50. The number on it now is 5543, I think, if I remember right. Always get my numbers mixed up, 5543 or 5544. So it's gonna be a
Okay.
little bit different.
Okay,
I
thank
was
you.
Okay.
thinking it was like 53, 55.
It might be 53, 55.
Okay.
Yeah. Always get my numbers mixed up on because there's different ones.
Yeah, there's
Uh,
way too many of them.
I mean, to keep up with. Hey, before we go, please make sure you put your name on there. While this is recording, it will pick it up and put it on the transcript. I literally just pull the transcript file, then I go in there and I assign your points for you for attending. Okay, so you should see that pop up later this evening on points in Blackboard on your grade book. Okay. Guys, on email, what I do, I'm an early morning guy, so I always check emails between 5:30 a.m. and 7:30, and then I come back in the evenings after 5 and check those as well. So if you email me for about 7:30, 7:45, I'll see it and get with you after the 5 o'clock p.m. when I check it. Okay, so if something comes up, you don't know, you have a question, or you think I wish I would have asked him that, just shoot me an email. Okay. And as we get going, if I see a lot of you have a question on part one, the overview, then I'll schedule a quick Zoom, hop on and provide clarification, answering questions you have.
I had a question about the introduction because it says that we're supposed to use like pictures, like basically almost like a presentation or something. And I have a Google slide, or I don't, it's probably a PowerPoint actually, that I made for like open house. Can I use that?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if it needed to be just like one thing or if that would work.
It'll work. Okay. All right, guys, I look forward to working with you during this 16 weeks. So we'll work through this. We just take it one step at a time. So don't let, by looking at that syllabus, let that overwhelm you. We'll just take it one step at a time. We'll work through it and everyone will be successful getting through this course. Okay.
Good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Look forward to working with you. See
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
You.
Thank you.
I did have a question that might be specific to me for the case study. So I was hoping to kind of stick around.
Yeah, no, you can stay on here. Let me
Okay.
bear with me just a minute here.